focus about reading others. They focus about how somebody is communicating. Are they sitting in front of us with crossed hands, open hands? We read books about trying to understand how to read others. We see TV shows with people that are trying to interpret actions of others. We are so focused about understanding the behavior of others, and we all so fascinated by it, aren't we? Having said that, nonverbal communication and body language is a lot more than that. And therefore, at Kinesics, we break it down into 3 areas. First is understanding yourself. As our previous speaker was speaking, it's not always about focusing on the other person. Because sometimes when you focus on the other person, it distracts you from where you actually need to be. And first is understanding yourself. So the first part is self. Is understanding your own self. Understanding if you're thinking and feeling working in harmony together. And why is it important? Because everything you're feeling shows up on your nonverbal communication, you want it or not. I'll repeat that. Everything you're feeling shows up on your nonverbal communication, you want it or not. So the first step is understanding yourself, internal self. Are you congruent? Is what you're thinking is feeling working in harmony together? Or am I thinking I'm confident and then what I'm feeling is not confident? And if somebody asks me if I'm confident about the position I'm going to take, I say, yeah.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe. Then our body language communicates that. So that's the first part, understanding your own self. The second part is understanding self to others, the messages you're giving to others, the hand gestures, the feet position, about what are you giving. We're all learning different things like growing up, different gestures, cross hands, open hands. We're in different cultures. We're in Toronto. We have so many cultures here. We all learn certain behaviors. We need to understand what are the messages we're giving. Are we having cross hands, open hands, cross feet, etc. Just how you analyze in your games, right? We need to understand that. And only then we can start focusing on how to read others. Why is reading others is on the bottom? Because if you don't understand yourself first, you will be the one contaminating that reading. You may be the one creating that situation. And on top of it, you may sit and you see somebody crossing their hands and you're like, oh my God, they're crossing their hands. I read in the book that crossing hands means reserve. Oh, they tilted their head. Now I'm confused because tilt their head sounds like it's listening. But you don't know what to do. Because you never understood yourself and you also don't understand what are your gestures and what are the things you are doing to either create that or use the tools to change that. So maybe I'll ask her to lean forward. Maybe I'll ask her to check something. I can use myself to change that situation. And that's where the power is. So reading others is extremely important, but understanding yourself and understanding the messages you're giving are most butt for your money, should you say. And why are we curious about reading others? Because we want to influence. Anybody in sales here?
Lots of people.
Most everyone.
Everybody's in sales here. Let me give you some news. We are all in sales. So either you actually in a role where you have to persuade, convince, and sell, which influence, but we all influence. Ladies. This is a ladies' night, gentlemen, I'm sorry. How many of you try to convince your kids and your husbands to do stuff? We all do. We all influence. We either influence culturally, contextually, to do things. We're all influencing. But often, we tend to start influencing before some other steps. We start to focus about influence, but influence actually has 3 steps beforehand. First is self-awareness, understanding yourself. Second is self-management. So you did the audit of yourself, you understand what's going on. Very similar. We didn't plan this. We didn't plan. I swear.
I did. I'm the master genius here. I totally planned it.
So then you have to learn how to manage the behaviors. Have words, statements, change behaviors. After that, only then you can then start to bring awareness. I'm not even influencing yet. Bringing awareness to others. What is happening? What is going on? And only then you can start influencing others. So influence is actually not the first thing we should be doing. The first thing is auditing yourself, understanding, self-management, then awareness of other. Who is there? What's the culture they're coming from? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? And only then you take all of that and you can influence. And what is not said here as well, that all of that come in context. Because influence in one place, in this environment, will be very different, and the individual will be very different in a different environment. So influence is not just awareness, but it's also awareness on the context. And when we go into it, let's talk about communication. We learn how to read, we learn how to write. We have over 6 channels of communication, not just reading and writing. And so when we look at nonverbal communication, we're not looking just about body language. We actually need to understand all those 6 channels. One is body. Let's say neck down. What am I doing with my body? Second is face, my expressions on the face. Then we have verbal content. It's the words I'm using. If I would take it and just write it. Verbal style. We all have a style. I wear a pink. There's somebody, I have a twin. There's somebody else with a pink jacket. So we can both wear the pink jacket, but we style it differently. The same thing we have when we have a conversation. We all have our own style, our own way of speaking. And then we have psychophysiology. What's the psychophysiology? It's the way our body and our emotions reacts to stimulus. What does that mean, stimulus? Meaning, if something happens and I see a wolf or a tiger, my body changes the system and sends blood to my organs for me to run fast. And therefore, my face will change color. So we see when somebody is scared, when it's to run, and they fear, their face changes color. So in body language, we can also look at psychophysiology. Or if somebody is angry and it's the complete opposite, they get super red, right? So you can see that. That's psychophysiology. So we all communicate and give messages through all those 6 channels of communication. We give and we receive. And if you only focus about how to read others, you only focus about how to receive. And do you really learn how to receive through all these 6 channels, or only one of them? Because I'll tell you, reading people is very complex. And you cannot judge by one gesture, and you cannot judge by one channel. You need to have a cluster, and it has to be complex. So reading people is on the bottom. And it's on the bottom because unless people learn how to read others properly, you're actually contaminating it. So the best way to go about it